Hi, my name is Father Sean Mcmanus, President of the Irish National Caucus in Washington, D.C., and Chief Judge of the World Peace Prize. And this is our 7th social media video on England's cruel and undemocratic partition of Ireland, enacted on December 23rd, 1920. So the 100th anniversary of that criminal act is fast approaching this December 23rd. Now that is why our One Ireland internet petition, now signed by almost 18,000 dedicated people the world over, is so important and timely. The petition states simply and beautifully, Ireland too has the right to be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the previous videos, I explained how in 1920, England, knowing that almost after 800 years, it could no longer hold on to all of Ireland. So it carved out 6 small counties from the rest of Ireland to set up a sectarian, meaning anti-Catholic, and racist, meaning anti-Irish, bogus statelet to be called Northern Ireland, which artificially and through gerrymandering now contained 1 million Protestants to 500,000 Catholics in 1920. This enabled England to maintain a continuing foothold on the island of Ireland through Protestant Unionist supremacy and anti-Catholic discrimination and oppression. Now, what possibly could have empowered, psychologically, if you wish, England, apart from violence and brute force, to construct such a statelet based on bigotry, state-sponsored sectarianism, and vicious anti-Catholicism, systematic discrimination throughout the 6 counties? Well, the answer, shocking and appalling though it be, is the British Constitution. I know that is hard for some to understand, so please let me explain. If you want to know the core values of a state, look at its constitution, which declares the principles by which the state is to be governed. A constitution is therefore of foundational importance and superior to any other written law or unwritten law, as within the US Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Can you imagine how awful it would be if there was still a discriminatory and bigoted provision within the US Constitution? Imagine, for example, if there were a provision that prohibited a black person being president of the United States, and that also prohibited the president from marrying a black person. Can you imagine how that would have officially condoned, institutionalized, and promoted white racism? How it would have fanned the fires of hatred and contempt for blacks? How deeply offensive it would be to blacks? Would America have gotten away with such constitutional bigotry? sectarianism and racism? No way. Every country in the world would have been rightly condemning it. How come then that the British Constitution and the Queen and King in Parliament have gotten away with constitutionally enshrined discrimination and sectarianism? For you see, since 1701, for 319 years, for goodness sake, until this very moment, and ongoing, there is at the heart of the British Constitution a law prohibiting Catholics being King or Queen of England. The Act of Settlement of 1701 is an integral part of the unwritten, uncodified British Constitution. The 1701 Act of Settlement determines succession to the throne of England and is therefore a fundamental constitutional statute. Indeed, it is the very foundation stone of the royal family. I repeat, it is the very foundation of the royal family. The Act of Settlement contained provisions that decreed only a Protestant could succeed to the British throne, and that if the monarch became a Catholic or even married a Catholic, she forfeits the throne and, quote, the people are absolved from their allegiance, end quote. By the way, the ban on marrying a Catholic was repealed in February 2013 by the Succession to the Crown Act in an attempt, I guess, to be seen as a bit more liberal. But the ban on the monarch being a Catholic, the most important ban, is still very much in place as we speak. The sectarian anti-Catholic law at the heart of the British Constitution may not mean all that much to the average English person in the street, but it means a whole lot to the extreme Protestant Unionists in Northern Ireland. Time and time again, extreme Protestant leaders in Northern Ireland have pointed out that their allegiance is not just to the British Crown, but also, and very importantly, to Protestant succession to the British throne. This is like American white supremacists saying that their allegiance would only be to the US Constitution if it guaranteed their supremacy, while, of course, ensuring that blacks were deemed to be inferior. Now, to a major degree, Protestant bigotry and anti-Catholicism in Northern Ireland are but a logical, inevitable outworking of the 1701 Act of Settlement, which must be seen surely as an utter disgrace to modern-day England. For as long as anti-Catholic sectarianism is enshrined in the British Constitution, extreme fundamentalist Protestant Unionists in Northern Ireland will see it as their patriotic and religious duty to endorse and implement this act, which means, in effect, refusing to accept Catholics as equals, because the British Constitution does not accept Catholics as equal. So in the first place, don't blame the Protestants of Northern Ireland for their bigotry. First, blame the British Constitution. Some might say, but the Queen is the head of the Church of England. Therefore, she has to be Protestant. As if that were an excuse for constitutional bigotry. Indeed, That was the very reason the founding fathers of America insisted there would be no established church. And in the First Amendment, they said that Congress would pass no law establishing any religion, because the moment you have an established religion, other people are discriminated against. Now, back in the early 80s, the Irish National Caucus was a voice crying in the wilderness on this issue. Nobody really was aware of it. However, I am pleased now that this issue has been eventually taken up by major figures and the media in Britain. And needless to say, Irish Americans, of course, were very supportive of our activity and very pleased we had educated them on the state-sponsored sectarianism at the heart of the British Constitution. They had been totally unaware of it in general because the American media or the history books never really raised it. But I'll tell you what, you can be certain, had there been a provision in the Irish Constitution of the Irish Republic forbidding a Protestant being president of the Irish Republic, the American media would have made a huge issue of it. Why the double standard? Why the double standard? Well, thank you for watching. Please sign our One Ireland petition. It is posted on change.org and on Facebook and on irishnationalcaucus.org. Now, please, let us build up the beloved community in all of Ireland, in unity and peace, in solidarity and equality, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A nation that respects Protestants, Catholics, dissenters, and people of all faiths and of no faith. That is how Ireland is meant to be. God save Ireland.